Hi, I am Raghav from IIDST and I'll be guiding you through the basic concepts of Python, right from installing Python to your first Python commands. This video is essentially a step-by-step procedure for you to get started with writing your first lines of code in one of the easiest possible ways. But first, what exactly is Python? Well, it's a programming language that is interpreted, object-oriented and considered to be high-level too. It's one of the easiest yet most useful programming languages which is widely used in the software industry. People use Python for competitive programming, web development, and creating software. Due to its easy syntax, it is recommended for beginners who are new to software engineering. Its demand is growing at a very rapid pace due to its vast use cases in modern technological fields like data science, machine learning, and automation tasks. It was created by Guido van Rossum and the first version was released in 1991. In fact, Python is one of the most used languages on GitHub, which means that even in the modern era, a lot of people are using Python. Now that we have the basics right, let us get started with step 1, that is of course installing Python. So on your computer, head over to your browser and open up this website, python.org. This is the official Python website where you can head over to the download section over here, click on it, and it's gonna say download the latest version of Python, which is currently Python 3.13.0. We will download the stable release of the Python, and this is what we want to download. If you're using a Mac OS device, then you can click here. Else, for a Windows device, you can click here. Also, to use Python, we can also use it in our command line interface, CLI, which is the, of course, CMD. But for our purposes of the course, we will be using PyCharm, which is an IDE or an integrated development environment, which allows us and provides us a GUI to code more fluently in Python. It also has a lot of features related to Python, so we'll also download PyCharm. Just a simple Google search will land you on the JetBrains website, who are the providers for PyCharm, the Python IDE, as you can see, an integrated development environment. Great. Now that we have landed on the JetBrains PyCharm website, we need to click download over here. It will lead us to the download page where we do not need to download PyCharm Professional. This is for working professionals only, but for the purpose of our learning, we will scroll down and go to PyCharm Community Edition, which is meant for students, and we'll click download exe Windows. I've already downloaded both of them on my device. Therefore, we shall proceed with installing Python. To install Python, open up the Python installer that we downloaded from python.org. Take a note of the path where your Python is being downloaded. Just in case, click add python.exe to path. This will come in hand later, but we'll check this for now. And click install now. It will begin the installation, and as we can see, Python is currently being installed. Great, we can see Python was successfully installed. Now we'll close this, and to verify successful installation, we'll open up the command prompt of our device and enter a very basic command, which is Python version. Hitting enter, we can see that it's showing the Python version. That means Python is successfully installed. To use Python in the command itself, we can click Python and hit enter. And we can see we have that the terminal has changed a bit, and we're now in the Python CLI. If we enter a basic command such as print we can see hello world has now successfully printed. Now we'll install PyCharm for the purpose of our course. Opening the installer, giving it the permission yes, click next, click next. We shall create a desktop shortcut and continue for now. Click install and it has begun the installation process for PyCharm. Great, we can see PyCharm has been successfully installed. We'll click finish for now and open PyCharm Community Edition from the desktop itself. Confirm user agreement, click continue, and this should be the landing page that you can see on PyCharm. We have to open up a new project, so we'll click here new project. It will ask us the Python project. You can name it whatever you want. I'll name it learning. Location, if you want to create a Git repository, you can do that from here. If you want to create a welcome script, you can do that from here. This is the project virtual environment. It has automatically detected the Python installation and will simply hit create. We can close the welcome page, and now we have our PyCharm welcome screen up and running. Now from here we can create a new file, a new Python file, and you can name it whatever you want. For now I'll just name it learning. Learning.py is now open. Now you are ready to print your first Python command. We shall begin with the basics, which is printing out something. To print something out, we use the print command in Python, which goes print hello world. Hit run, and you can see down here in the terminal, it has printed hello world out for us. Great. That was your first Python command and it went successfully. Another important thing to note is comments in Python. Commenting is very important in Python because to comment something out means that the piece of code that you have commented will not be executed, just like this. To comment anything out, you just need to put hash before it and it will comment it out. That is, it will not be executed. So if I press run again, you can see there is no output because it was not executed. Comments are very useful because you can use this to improve your readability of the code. For example, I can just comment here and hello world again has been printed because we removed the hash from here, but this prints out hello world. This gives you a better idea that the above line of code prints out hello world. Now Python is an indented language, that is, it works with indentations. Let me give you an example how. Now let us get started with variables in Python. Variables are essentially containers that store values. Python is not statically typed, that is why variable names cannot start with a number. They must start with a letter or an underscore character, and they can only contain alphanumeric characters and not special characters. Let me give you an example. To declare a variable, we simply need to say, let's say I want to declare a variable x is equal to 45. Now x has stored the value of 45 in it. We do not need to declare the type of variable, it simply keeps that in itself. For example, if I want to store a string, let's say name, I'll do John, and it has stored the variables accordingly. Now continuing on, if I want to, let's say, use these variables in a scenario, I will simply say print x or print name. Now if I click on run, you can see it has print 45 and has printed out John, because x here was 45 and name here was John, so it substituted the values accordingly. Now another very important thing to note in Python are input and output. I just showed you one of the ways to print out outputs, which was the print command, which is print hello world. But how do you take in inputs in Python? Well, with the input command. However, we need to store the given input in a variable before. So we will first declare a variable and the value of the variable will be assigned to the input command. Let me give you an example. Let me declare a variable val which takes in the input enter your name. Now I want to print out val. Let us see how this piece of code will work. Let me comment this out. If I click on run, it will ask me to enter my name. I will enter Raghav, and it has printed out my name out to me right here, as you can see. This is how we use input and output. But what if we want to input a number? Well, let me introduce you to data types in Python. The major data types that you will be using are integer, float, strings, complex numbers. We just saw how we can take in inputs through the input command. But what if we want to input a number? Well, that brings us to the topic of data types in Python. Python has a lot of data types which we can use according to our need. They are divided broadly into primitive and non-primitive data structures. The primitive data structures are integers, float, strings, and boolean. The non-primitive structures are derived from the primitive structures, and they are arrays, lists, tuples, dictionaries, sets, and files. We use them according to our needs and purposes. And if we want to, let me give you an example how we can do this. Let us say I want to enter my age as well. Firstly, I'll give the variable name age, and because age is an integer, it's a number, right? So we'll use int input, and then we'll prompt the user to please enter your age. Then we shall output the age just like so. Now if I run the code, it will ask me to enter my name. Great. Now it's asking me to enter my age. Great. You can see that it successfully run. Keep in mind that data types are very important. We cannot use certain operations on certain data types and vice versa. Therefore, if we had not used int here, it would have treated it like a string. Let me give you an example. If I run this code again, you can see it has still given an output, but it has treated it like a string and not an integer. If we perform certain operations on it, it will not be possible because it is not an integer. Now that we have understood how data types work, let me introduce you to another topic, which are arithmetic operators. Operators are used to perform operations on various data, such as logical operations and arithmetic operations. Arithmetic operations are like operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let me show you how it works. We will use two variables here. A will be your integer input type, and we'll say enter the first number. B again will be another integer input type, which will say enter the second number. We will declare another variable here, C, which will add A and B together, and at the end of all of this we'll print out C. Let us see how it works. It says enter the first number. Let's say 5. Enter the second number, 10. You can see it has given out 15, which is the sum of 5 and 10, because we use plus here, which is a Python arithmetic operator for addition. Now if we switch over to minus, let's say 15, you can see it has given out 5, because it has subtracted 15 and 10 from each other, A minus B, which was C, which we stored out and printed it. Now for multiplication, we use the asterisk operator, which multiplies A and B together. If we run it again, we'll see 5, 2. It has given out 10, which is the multiplication of 5 and 2. Great. But what if we want to divide it? Now we have the division operator. If we hit run again, and if we hit, let's say 6 and 3, it has given out 2.0, because this gives out value in float. If we want grounded value, we'll use the double division. As you can see here, it has given us 2 now. There is another operator called mod, which gives you the remainder of a certain division. Let me demonstrate it to you. If we put mod over here, let's say 15 and 7. If we divide 15 by 7, we'll get a remainder of 1, and it has printed out the remainder because we use the modulus command over here. These are the arithmetic operations in Python. Great. Now that we know how arithmetic operators work, let us move forward with assignment operators. These are used to assign values to the variables which can either add or remove certain amount of values. Let me show you how it is. Let me declare a variable a which takes in an integer input. Enter the value of a here, and after that we will use the assignment operator plus equal to increase the value by 10, and then we'll print out a. So running the code, enter the value of a here, 10, and you can see it's become 20 in the output because we incremented the value of a by 10. Again, if we use minus equal to 10, which is another assignment operator, if we enter the value of a to be 20, we'll get 10 here. If we hit asterisk equal to 10, which is another assignment operator, we'll get 10 into 10, 100. These are some of the operators that you'll be using on a day-to-day basis. Let us move forward with if-else conditional statements. What are conditional statements? Well, sometimes in coding, you might end up in a situation where you need to run a certain part of code if a situation happens, or else if another situation happens, you might need to run another part of code. This is where if-else statements come in. They provide you conditional scenarios wherein certain code will run only when a condition or a situation is met. If the situation or condition is not met, then it will run another block of code. Let me show you how. Let us take an integer x whose value is 20. Now, if x is smaller than 15, then it will print out smaller. Else it will print out greater. Let us now see how this works. You can see here that we have used colons over here to mark if and else blocks. Now we'll run this file and see what happens. You can see it's printed out greater. Let me show you how this happened. The value of x was 20. Firstly, it went down to this line and checked if x was less than 15. No, 20 is obviously greater than 15. So then it skipped this entire part and went straight to the else block, where it saw that it had to print out greater, so it printed out greater. This is a basic demonstration of how if-else statement works. However, there is another conditional statement called if-elif else. Here, another condition called elif, which is else if, is added. Let me show you how it works. We'll simply change this code only and add an elif x equal to 20 print equal. Let me run this code and then explain it to you. We can see it has printed out equal. But wait, wasn't this greater? Let me explain it to you how this code worked. It first checked if the value of x was less than 15. It was not. So it went to the elif statement now. It checked if x was equal to 20. Yes, it was. So it printed equal. If in case this statement failed, then it would have went to the else block and printed out greater. Remember, you can have as many elif statements as you want, but the else statement can only be used once. The else statement is the last statement in the if-else conditional blocks. The elif statement here says x equal to 20, and so it has to print out equal, which it did. But let me show you what happens if we, let's say, x equals to 21. Now you can see it has printed out greater. It went to first the if block. It was obviously greater than 15, so it would never print out smaller. Now it went to the elif block and checked if it was equal to 21. No, 20 and 21 are not equal. So now it went to the else block and it printed out greater. That was how if else elif blocks work. And now we'll move forward to loops. Loops in Python are used for sequential traversal. Let's say you want to print hello world I want to print out hello world 10 times. I'll have to write it 10 times in order to print hello world 10 times. You can see it has now printed 10 times, but this is very repetitive. I do not want this. This is something which, when you use large pieces of code, will get very repetitive, and it will be costing a huge burden on the machine as well in terms of CPU and RAM usage. Therefore, in Python, we have loops, which are essentially used for repetitive tasks or to sequential travel or to iterate over items as well. Let me give you a demonstration. I just showed you that I printed out hello world 10 times by using print statement. But what if I used a for loop here? Let me show you how it works. For I in range 0 to 10, print hello world. I forgot the inverted commas. Print hello world. Now you can see it has printed hello world. We just saw the demonstration of the for loop. Now there is another loop in Python, which is the while loop. The while loop runs while a certain condition is met. Let me show you how it works. Let us begin by declaring a variable. Let's say I is equal to 10 while I is less than greater than 0. Print hello world I minus equal to 1. Let us see what's gonna happen here. We can see it has printed out hello world exactly 10 times. Why? Let me show you how this code worked. We declared the value of I to be 10, and then we set up a while loop. While loop said while I is greater than 0. While I is greater than 0, you need to print hello world and then decrease the value of I by 1. So here, when it entered the loop, I was 10. Let me show. I was 10. It printed out hello world, and then the assignment operator decreased the value of I by 1. Then again the loop started and checked. Now the value of I is 9. Now it checked, is 9 greater than 0? Yes, it is. Then it printed out again hello world. Then again it decreased to 8 in the last line over here. I minus equal to 1, 8. It checked, is 8 greater than 0? Yes, it is. Then it printed out hello world again. This went on and on and on and on until it finally hit 0. Is 0 greater than 0? No, 0 is equal to 0. Therefore, it stopped printing hello world and the loop stopped executing. This is how while loop executes. Now, these were the basics of Python language, which should be enough to get you started with your first steps of coding in Python. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you have happy learnings ahead.